If you've taken English classes for years and you still struggle to speak fluently, well, it's not your fault. Language classes are broken. The system is broken, and it's been ignoring research that's been around for 50 years. Let me explain. Oh, but first please click like and subscribe. It just really helps me out. Let me introduce you to this great man. His name is Stephen D. Krashen. He is an American linguist, educational researcher, and activist. And decades ago, he laid it out, exactly how humans learn or acquire a language. But education systems and classrooms just kept doing what they've always done. No one listened. Today, most English classes still focus on grammar explanations, grammar drills, and grammar tests. Real language learning happens through communication because that's what language is. It's communication. It's not a system of rules like physics. It's a skill like skateboarding or playing the piano. So let's look at what Krashen said. He developed 5 core theories that explain the way that we acquire language. And these aren't just opinions. They've been peer-reviewed, classroom tested, and widely ignored by traditional language schools. So let's look at these 5 theories clearly, simply, and I'll explain why they matter for you. Firstly, we have the acquisition learning hypothesis. Stay with me, I know. But Krashen says there are 2 ways to try and become fluent in a language. One of them works, and one of them doesn't work. Number 1 is learning. And this is like traditional studying, right? Think boring classrooms, exercises, grammar rules, memorization. The other one, it's called acquisition. It's a subconscious process. So acquisition and learning are 2 different things, and this is important to understand. Acquisition happens when you understand what you're listening to and what you're reading. That's it. No memorization, no pressure, just comprehension and time. Learning is what you do in chemistry class. You study facts, you memorize that Ti stands for titanium. But acquisition, that's a skill. That's like learning to ride a bike. You don't study how to ride a bike, you just do it over and over until your brain and your body just know. And language, it turns out, is more like riding a bike than it is memorizing the periodic table of elements. So this is how you learnt your first language. This is how native speakers learn. Native speakers don't say, oh, look at me, I just used the past participle after an auxiliary verb. No, they just say, I've eaten. They didn't learn the rule. They acquired the language. And the big secret is that you can do that too. You see, your brain is designed to acquire language. It's how we all acquired our first one. Your brain is terrible at learning grammar rules and then trying to apply those rules somehow when you need to speak and have a conversation with your friends. That's why you can get 90% on a grammar test, but still completely freeze in real conversation. Fluency comes from acquisition, always. Secondly, we have the input hypothesis. So if fluency comes from acquisition, then how do we acquire? Through input. Input is simple. It's just basically reading and listening. And output, as you might have guessed, is speaking and writing. But input is where the action is. So we acquire language and become fluent when we read and listen to things that we understand. Krashen says that we acquire language when we understand input that's just like a little bit beyond our current level. So imagine you're at level 5, basically intermediate. You need input, so that's reading and listening, at 5 plus 1. So reading and listening, that's about level 6. That would be perfect for you. Slightly more challenging, but still understandable. If it's too easy and you understand everything, there's no growth. But if it's too hard and you understand nothing, your brain shuts down. But if it's just right, when the level of the language is just right, when you understand the context and you're stretching just a little bit, that's the sweet spot. That's when your brain starts acquiring, and it happens automatically. So what does perfect input look like? How do you find it? Well, it would be a TV series that you like with English subtitles. Or it could be a podcast where you understand 80% but just have to stretch a little bit for the rest. Or a conversation where you mostly get it, but you just have to guess some of the things from context or ask the person that you're talking to repeat themselves. And you don't need to speak to acquire. You don't need to memorize. You don't need annoying fill-in-the-blank exercises. You just need to understand messages. Understand what you read and listen to in English. That's how babies do it. That's how you did it once, and it still works. It's how your brain is designed. So if you want to get fluent, stop obsessing over accuracy and output. Stop obsessing over grammar and start going after understandable input and enjoying the language. That's what's really important. It has to be fun. If you're bored, well, your brain just checks out. So language classes should not be boring. They should be interesting. They should have reading and listening that you are interested in and lots of interesting conversation. Language classes should be fun. Next up, my favorite is the monitor hypothesis. So what is the monitor? It's all of the learnt grammar rules that live inside your head. When you speak, ideas will form in your head, but before you go to say it, your brain tries to check what you're going to say against the grammar rules that you learned in your classroom. And these rules actually get in the way because they haven't been subconsciously acquired, but they've been consciously learnt. And that is bad for your fluency. So the monitor, the stressed out voice in your head, filled with all that trauma, that trauma of being humiliated by your grade 3 language teacher. It can help you edit a sentence, but too often it just slows you down. Because language should flow, not be paused and corrected mid-sentence. So there's that little voice inside your head that says, oops, I said he go, and I should have said he goes. Grammar is language. It's half the equation, at least, along with vocabulary, right? But when I say grammar, I'm talking about formal grammar instruction, and that's where things get confusing. Because what we really want is accuracy, not grammar. And the path to accuracy isn't worksheets. It's not corrections. It's acquisition. That is the path to fluency and accuracy. Learners who focus on input, who read, listen, and absorb, get more accurate over time. And learners who focus on rules often know a lot about English, but they can't actually use it. So yeah, we want grammar, but we want it to emerge naturally and not be forced, because the goal is accuracy. And the path to accuracy is not grammar gap fills and exercises, it's acquisition. Now we have the affective filter hypothesis. This one's got to do with your emotions. So maybe you've had the experience, you're speaking English with someone who makes you feel good and relaxed and confident, and your English just flows. And then you talk to someone who makes you feel stupid or embarrassed about your mistakes, and suddenly you can't speak at all. And there's a reason for that. Krashen calls this the affective filter. And this is like an anxious wall that goes up in your brain. And when it's up, the language can't get in. So what raises the filter? Stress, anxiety, fear of making mistakes, boring and rigid content. And what lowers it? Feeling relaxed, being genuinely interested, feeling safe and confident, and having fun. If you've ever frozen in a conversation, if you've felt embarrassed to speak, if you've studied for hours and still can't use the language, it's maybe not you, maybe it's your affective filter. Maybe it's your teacher. It's blocking the input from reaching the part of your brain that acquires the language. Your emotional state matters more than your grammar book. Your teacher being nice to you matters more than the grammar exercises. You need to feel good to learn well. And if your teacher, your class, or your learning environment makes you feel anxious, it's not helping. So lower the filter, raise the input, and that's how you grow. And finally, an interesting one, the natural order hypothesis. So Krashen says that actually we acquire grammar in a natural order, depending on the language. Not the order that it's taught in, and not the order that makes logical sense, but the order that our brains are naturally ready for. So in English, some grammar rules are acquired very easily by most learners earlier, and others are not acquired until much later. And it doesn't matter how many times the grammar rules are explained. For example, students usually acquire the ing form in the present continuous say very easily, like I'm running. They rarely make mistakes with that. Then the plural s. There are some cats over there, for instance, right? But a little bit harder are auxiliaries, like I have done it. And then much harder is the third person s. That's that he go versus he goes. It's the most simple rule, but according to my experience as a teacher, students don't acquire this until they are upper intermediate. It's amazing, but that's the natural order hypothesis. It's just how it works. So here's the mind-blowing part. You might understand advanced grammar rules, but you still make basic mistakes. Why? It's not because you're lazy, it's not because you're bad at languages, but it's because your brain hasn't acquired that structure yet. So it's not about effort, and it's not about timing. You can't force the process. You can only give your brain the right input, stay consistent, and just let it happen. So these theories have been around for nearly 50 years, backed by research, backed by common sense, but classrooms haven't changed. Here's the big truth. We already know how to learn languages. So my job is to give you the input that actually works. TV shows, movies, and real conversation. And that's why I started English Absorbed, and that's why you should subscribe to this channel. A question before I go. Which of Krashen's theories speaks to you the most? Let me know in the comments, and please remember to like and subscribe. Ciao for now.